Hello and welcome to D3M. Now that you've got your user account set up, let's give you a tour to get you familiar with some of the key features of D3M. It all starts here on the project page. Here you have a list for all your customer opportunities, all your customer deployments, and some other projects that might be shared with you through your organization. You can kind of consider this your inbox. You can click on any one of these projects to dive into an existing project, or you can create a new project. So let's create a new project just by clicking on this button in the upper right here called New Project. Click on that. You'll be asked to enter some information like the customer and the project name. So we'll say it's Hotel Inc. and we'll say the project is called Hotel Inc. Radio Deployment. You can also add optionally some additional information such as location, radio network mode, or deployment date. Click on Start Building and your project will initialize. Okay, so now that your project's initialized, the first place you're brought to is the canvas. So here's where you can start building your project. So let's say you're a sales rep and you've just got a new opportunity and you have an idea of what the network's going to look like. You can start building it right here. And you're going to do that using our library of icons on the left here. So D3M comes pre-built with some pre-built icons designed for the radio industry. So let's say we'll drag a repeater on here. So you just drag and drop it out onto the canvas. And you'll see as I drop it on there, there's actually some ports that are already associated with that. So you have like slot 1, some LAN ports. Again, all specific to radio repeaters, okay? So I drop a couple repeaters on there. Let's say some duplexers and maybe some antennas. And let's say this is a multi-site network. So what we'll do is we'll have an IP switch as well. Okay, so now that the diagram's looking pretty good, let's make some connections, okay? So let's say the repeater, we want it hooked up to the switch, okay? So we just dragged from the LAN port to one of the switch ports here. And what's really nice about D3M is that it comes with some built-in engineering rules. So if I were to try to connect a LAN port to say like the TX or RX port of a duplexer, it won't actually let me. So this kind of makes it foolproof. And this works with TX connections, RX connections, and antenna connections. So all types of connections with all these built-in engineering rules. Okay, so the diagram's starting to look a little better here. Now at this point I want to mention two really nice things about the canvas. One is that you are working in an infinite canvas in D3M. So if you scroll up or down, you can zoom in or zoom out, and you can see that as your network grows or as your project grows, you can add more and more elements in this infinite canvas. Okay. And the second thing is this diagram might look pretty good, for your staff and for your technicians and stuff like that. But it's not exactly the most customer-friendly view. So what you can do is you can come up here and just click on icon and you'll see an icon view of this. Now these again are images that come pre-built with D3M. But later on I'll show you how you can build your own icons and upload your own images. Okay, so let's say we also want to add some portables to this. So I'll drag some portables out on here. And since we're in the hospitality industry with Hotel Inc., I'm just going to double click and name this group the security group. And let's say this group down here, I'm going to label housekeeping. So just double click and start typing and there you go. Okay, coming together pretty well now. And now a lot of diagramming programs can do what you've just seen here, make connections and drag items onto the canvas. But where D3M really starts to separate itself is by attaching data to these icons, okay? So if I double click on any one of these icons, so let's say the repeater, you'll see on the right here, there's a whole bunch of properties that I can fill out for that repeater that'll be tied directly to that repeater. So again, I'm a sales rep, so let's say I know the model number at this point, so let's say it'll be the XPR 8400. I just typed that in, and now that piece of data is tied directly to that. So if I click on the canvas to hide that, and I double click on it again to bring it up, you'll see that information is saved. Now, a lot of this extra information like radio model, firmware version, stuff like that, I might not actually know, and I might want to bring in my technician at this point. And rather than logging in and getting them to sit at my computer, I can actually share my project with them. So if I click on the share button at the top, I'm going to bring in one of my more technical colleagues here, so Dimitri Silva. So I'll add her as a collaborator here, and I'll say she can edit this project. You might have a manager that you only want them to see this information. At that point, you could select Can View. Okay, so I'm going to add Dimitri as an editor for this, so I hit share. Now she'll get an email notification saying that a project has been shared with you. She can log in and start editing this project. And what's really nice is I'll see it in real time. So as she moves these items and changes connections, I'll actually see that all with live collaboration. Now she can come in and add some more information. So let's say she knows the firmware version. So she can just come in here, type in say firmware version 2.4 and be on her way. Now at this point, again, the customer is getting really excited about it. You guys might want to start to add in more and more information. And the technician, at this point might want to build out a fleet map of all this information, okay? So, I mean, normally she might come in here, copy this information to an Excel spreadsheet. That might take a lot of work. But what's really nice about D3M is she doesn't have to do that because D3M automatically builds a fleet map as you build your diagram and enter information. So if I click on this fleet map tab up here, you'll see that everything that we had in our diagram is actually here on the left. So our antennas, our portables, our repeaters. And if you click on any one of them, you'll see the information that we filled out in the diagram is actually right here as well. So that repeater that we were working on, XPR8400 firmware 2.4, and this is fully editable. You can come in here and start typing, so XP4 8400. You can even drag down to fill. So if I select this cell and I just drag down and fill it, you'll see it automatically fills in. Okay, and you can even add extra instances of your icons. So let's say my housekeeping staff. I actually have 30 housekeeping staff and I only have one portable here. Let's say I'm going to buy 29 more portables for them. So I just enter 29 up here and hit add. And then you'll see instantly those 29 portables get added right here. And then I can add their information. So let's say that they're going to be using the SL7550s. Okay, so I can come in here, and rather than just dragging to fill, I even have a quicker way. If I double click the square in the corner, you'll see it automatically fills down just like that, okay? Let's say we have the radio ID. This even has incremental logic, okay? So let's say if I put radio ID 201 and 202, if I select those and double click the square, you see it automatically fills out there with all the information incrementing properly there. And again, the really nice thing about this is that it's all synced between the fleet map and the diagram. So if I go back to the diagram, you'll see my housekeeping staff has a ×30 beside it. If I double click on it, you'll see like their model numbers, SL7550. You'll see that second repeater that we were editing, its model number is 8400. So all this information is synced back and forth, and so you can save your time, you don't have to duplicate your work. Okay, now D3M tries to be the one-stop shop for all your things related to your project, but there might be some instances where you need to get this data into another one of your systems, say your accounting system or your inventory system or whatever it may be. So in that case, we do provide an export functionality. If you go to the upper right here and click on export, you'll be able to export an Excel version of the fleet map, the technical diagram, the icon diagram. You just click on download and then those files will be ready for you to import into your other systems. Okay, now let's say a couple weeks have passed, the technician comes back to the diagram and realizes, oh, this diagram looks pretty good, but we've forgotten one key piece of the diagram, one key piece of the network. We've forgotten a dispatch console. Not a problem, we can add the dispatch console. So we look on the left here, we start to look for the dispatch console, and we realize that dispatch console isn't actually part of the D3M library. Now again, D3M ships with some pre-built icons, but we know that you guys are experts of your business, and there'll be some stuff that's specific to your business, and you guys can create them yourselves. So here's how you create your own icon. So if you scroll down a little bit to your user library, you'll see there's a little plus button. You just click on that, and you can start building your own icon. So here I'm going to call it a dispatch console, so you just give it a name. You give it some properties, so we'll say it has a make, it has a model, it has an IP address, let's say, so we add those properties. Okay, and then you click on next step and you can start to visually design this. So you can upload an image. I happen to have an image of a dispatch console here, but you can upload any image you can find from the internet, okay? And then you get a little preview here. You can play with the width and the height to make it look good. And then the last thing you can do is add connection ports, just like any of the D3M icons, okay? So let's say a dispatch console has an IP port, okay, and we'll call that LAN. So click on save there. And let's say it also has a USB port, so that would be a data port, okay, and we'll call that USB. Okay, so we have our port set up, and now you can save this icon. So you can either save this icon to your personal library, and that way you can use it in any of the projects, any of your own projects, or you can click on this little down arrow if you're part of an organization and save it to the organization library. And what that allows you to do is share this icon with anybody in your organization, and they can use it on any one of their diagrams, okay? So I'll save it to my library. As you can see, I'm part of the Tell Deal organization, so if I scroll down, you'll see there's actually a bunch of icons that are shared with my organization. Okay, so that's what sharing with your organization will look like. Okay, so then what I can do is I can just drag my newly created dispatch console icon onto the diagram, and you'll see if I double click on it, all the properties are added there, and all the ports also have those engineering rules. So I can only connect a LAN port to another IP port, so I can connect it like that, and there we go, we are ready. Okay, so the diagram looks really good right now, and now you're really ready to share this with your customer. Okay, you're really ready to present this to your customer. So how do you do that? You use the proposal view. So if you click on the proposal tab here, you'll see this is a summary of everything in your project. Okay, it even has your organization logo, has a nice title page, and if you scroll down, okay, it's got your diagram, all nicely presented there, and all your fleet map information. Okay, and you can tweak a lot of this information. So let's say you want to add some notes. I can click here to unhide the notes, and then click this little pencil on the right to actually edit them. Okay, so I can say this is an initial proposal, okay, and this is pending, say, review from the customer. So I just add those notes there. Okay, you can add any notes you want there. You can even hide columns. So let's say you know that the customer is not really interested in some of this technical information like the gain and the power. So you can just click on the pencil and you can hide some of those columns. So let's say gain, antenna length, power, frequency range. You hide those columns and do whatever you want with that, okay? And this is essentially building your proposal for your customer. Now that your proposal is ready, you can share it with them in one of two ways. You can either just click on the send proposal to and add their email address here. Okay, once you add their email address there, they'll get an email notification and they can come here and view this proposal. And the other way is you can just copy this link on the right here and copy it into your email. Let's say you want a more personalized email, you're more friendly with the customer, you want to send them a personal email. You can copy this link, put it in there, and then they can view this proposal. Okay, so now let's say it's a couple weeks later and what's happened is the customer has accepted the proposal, they've signed the contract, you are ready to go to install, and the technicians are getting ready to get everything in line to do the actual install. So one of the things they might want to do is gather all the files they need, things like code plugs or extra information about the site install. So rather than putting that somewhere else, D3M actually allows you to upload these files directly to the project. So if you click on the Files tab here, you can click on Upload Files at the bottom, and you can upload things like code plugs. So I have a couple code plugs here and some extra text to do with the proposal. So I hit open, and then there you go. Those are all uploaded to the project. And that way, anywhere they are or any of the technicians that have access to the project can get the latest files that they need to do the install. Now, let's say they're also going off-site somewhere, where they don't want to bring their computer. They don't want to, it may be some remote area where they just want a printout of all this stuff. And that's where the print view comes in handy. So you click on the print tab here. And this is very similar to the proposal view in the sense that it's a nice summary of all your information in your project, and you can edit the columns. And let's say you want the technical view, so you click on the technical view. But this does not affect your proposal view. Okay, so this does not affect what your customers are seeing. So what you can do is this is for your personal uses. You get all this set up. Okay, you show the columns that you want, and then you just click Print PDF here. Okay, and that'll prepare a PDF and download it for you. That PDF will be ready for you to print it off and take that paper copy of your project off on the site to do your install properly. Okay, so those are some of the key features of D3M. We hope this video has given you a little bit of knowledge and education on how to use them. But if you ever get stuck or you ever have a question about D3M, there's two resources that we have for you. So if you click on the menu up in the upper right here, the first thing is you can go to our Help and Support page. So click on Help and Support. That'll bring you to support.d3mradios.com. And here there's an FAQ, there's articles, there's just things that may have answers to what you're looking for here. So a great resource here about how to use D3M and some common questions that people have. But if you have a specific issue or your answer is not there, you can always submit a support ticket. So if you click on that menu and click on Submit a Support Ticket, you can add your question, your details, and submit that, and then our support team will get that and get back to you as soon as they can. Okay, thanks for watching this video, and we really hope you enjoy using D3M.